What is up, people? How we doing? Getting everyone in here. We're getting Lyle in here. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's everybody's take on the series? Well, we'll get to that in a
Season's
minute.
over again.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Again, totally over. Zach
Well,
Wheeler cooks the Mariners. They face a good pitcher in the playoffs. It's going to be Don Larson 2.0. Said and done.
whew.
Tell me a stat that says otherwise.
Well, what about the fact they won the series?
Eh,
No.
nah. I guess that's a positive. Welcome in, everyone. Marine Lair Podcast, Sunday Night Live. We're live here on our YouTube channel, in our Instagram channel, every single Sunday night around 7 o'clock Pacific. If you want to get a question in, be sure to send us a question in the Instagram chat or the YouTube chat. Make sure if you're watching on one platform, not following us on our other ones, go check out our other platforms. We're at Marine Lair Pod on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, Marine Lair Podcast on YouTube. Turn on the notification bells. Make sure to hit subscribe. And if you really want us to answer your question, really want to, send us a super chat and we'll be sure to get to your question. Lau, but you didn't come away with the same thing. It's not going to be Don Larson 2.0 in the World Series.
Well, Zach Wheeler looked a little bit like Don Larson 2.0 today, but Zach Wheeler is also one of baseball's best arms. So,
Well,
kind of, kind of went how I was expecting it to go today. They won the first two. It was going to be a pitcher's duel. It was really close until toward the end of the game, and then the Phillies added on a few runs. They got to the bullpen. So, yeah, it's hard to hit Zach Wheeler. Would have been great to sweep. Would have been nice to get a 2-game lead in the West, but it's Zach Wheeler doesn't get lit up that often.
no, no, he does not. Some bad luck too. Who up? So I was driving at this. I was at the game. We were at the game pregame, and I drove back here to be here for this live stream back in Corvallis. So who hit the ball that Marsh did the shrug and he caught it? Was it Robles?
Oh, it's Polanco.
Blanco? Yeah. That's kind of how the game 3 went. That kind of luck.
Just everything went the Phillies' way. Yeah, it looked like just from watching the play that Marsh knew exactly where it was going to be, but then when you saw it on TV, it seemed like he totally lost it.
Yeah. They made it sound pretty crazy on the radio. So I still I still haven't had time to see the replay, but that sounded pretty bonkers. But the Phillies until this week had the best record in Major League Baseball. So you will take a series win against them. They've played like crap since the break. Doesn't matter. I think you'll take it. You'll nod your head yes and take it because you know what happened. The other two best records in baseball played this weekend, and you hadn't taken a series from either of them yet. No, the Orioles or the Guardians. So if you're going to get an opportunity to take a series against a team with a record like that, you'll take it.
Sure. And they faced two inferior arms the first two games. They absolutely jumped on Tyler Phillips. And while Colby Allard kind of kept him at bay for a while yesterday, ultimately they found a way to win the game. They got to the bullpen, they stormed their way back. Mitch Haniger had the walk-off walk, and they won the series. So it wasn't perfect on Saturday, but you know what? They still found a way to win. The two games they were expected to win, they won. Those are what teams with expectations do. So they won the series. I'm not going to say they should have swept. Again, Zach Wheeler is not an easy guy to go up against, but they did what they were supposed to do this weekend.
So let's get to some questions. Again, if you want us to answer your questions, you can send them on whichever platform you're watching on Instagram or on YouTube. And if you really want us to answer your question, guys, head on over to the YouTube chat, send us a super chat, and we'll be sure to get to your question next. Is there one jumping out at you to start?
John asked on Instagram, when does Julio come back? There isn't an exact day yet. What we heard this weekend was there is a it still sounds inconclusive. I think there is a chance he's back this homestand, but they haven't given anything definitive yet. I don't know if he's going to go out on a rehab assignment first or if they're just going to throw him back into games. I think it's all still up in the air.
I was expecting more of a definitive answer on Julio being back this homestand. I felt like the way they were portraying it at first is that he was going to be back this homestand. So I was a little surprised when Hollander wasn't wasn't going to give an exact day that he was going to be feeling better and ready to go. Like, I'll say I was surprised. And I feel like the Mariners, in a best case scenario, want Julio back this series, gets a couple games in at home, and, he can then buckle up for the final 8 weeks of the season and have this offense as good as it possibly can be, sans JP.
Sure. He was taking batting practice this weekend, so that was a good sign. Again, I don't know if he's going to go out and play rehab games or not. Maybe they just throw him back into the lineup. It's we don't know yet. But it made it sound like by them being inconclusive about it, it made it kind of sound like it could be as soon as in the Tiger series, it could be as far out as, another week or week and a half. We don't really know. Well, he could wake up on Tuesday and he's activated off the IL. So I think they're just the thing about a high ankle sprain is it's very, very it's a tough injury to manage. So I think we're gonna have to kind of wait around a little bit to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So this is also our first live stream post deadline where we have all the results in, and we could bounce around a few ideas of deadline results as well. Because there's a question in here that does kind of tie back to the Mariners, because do believe, even though we were not for the Mariners trading for this player, there are some Mariner fans who wanted this player. So, a question here on YouTube, Ryan asks, do we think Chicago didn't deal Luis Robert because they were asking for too much?
Yeah, I think that is what it is. Paired with, I don't know if Luis Roberts' value's ever been lower. He spent a bunch of the season injured, and he's not hitting well right now. So I think all those things combined probably tanked his value a little bit. Not that it wasn't not that it was nothing, but the White Sox were probably asking for a lot. There were a lot of teams that probably didn't love the fact he wasn't hitting. They know the injury history, and teams balked at the price. I'm sure at some point here, Luis Roberts going to get traded, whether it's this offseason, whether it's the next deadline, etc., because he's not going to win in this White Sox window. Like he's not going to help this White Sox window. So at some point, he's going to get traded.
And teams might have thought, because of his offensive performance this year, he's not gonna help a team as much make the playoffs as he would if they traded for him in the offseason and they got him a full spring training and a full whatever period they think is ideal within their system, with their coaches and their clubhouse and their culture to fully acclimate, and realize that yeah, you're getting a similar deal in the offseason as well, with a little bit more to work with and time to work out a better trade package, opposed to a more irrational trade package or something where, the deadline's coming up and you throw whatever you possibly have to at it to get it done without thinking it through. And that's how some fleeces happen. And the Mariners and other teams that could have used the services of Luis Robert decided, no, no, we're good. It's not going to be our move. But also, we're not totally sure if he was actually available. That was never made publicly clear. We assumed he would be available, but for sure, we don't know that. Crochet, I'm pretty sure we knew was available because of all the rumors and the extension thing, and Fetty was available too. But Luis Robert, that's not for certain, right? It's the same thing with Vlad. We talked a lot about trading for Vlad, but it sounded like he was never actually available, and it was all smoke, not fire, as Jerry DePoto put it.
And no huge names got moved. Two biggest names that were moved were Randy and Paredes.
Yeah.
Vladdy wasn't moved, Rooker wasn't moved, Robert wasn't moved, etc. So maybe teams balked at the asking prices. Maybe there wasn't enough time to get a real deal done that made sense for both sides before the deadline. And maybe those guys get dealt in the offseason when there's more time to actually work out logistics rather than being up against the clock.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Mo on Instagram asked, who's going to be the player to be named later? This is in reference to the Arozarena trade. Well, we don't know yet. And truthfully, I don't know when we're going to find out. Maybe it's in the offseason. Maybe it's toward the end of the regular season. I figured we know by now, but it sounds like this might actually drag out a bit. And maybe there's a few guys the Rays want to see a little bit before they decide who the guy is that they want. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit. It's not gonna be anybody in the Mariners top 10. Like if you're asking because you think it could be, I don't know, Harry Ford or Colt Emerson. Obviously not somebody like Emerson, but, the Fords or the Cole Youngs or the even like, a Michael Arroyo. It's not gonna be guys like that. It's gonna
Mhm.
be somebody that's further down in their prospect pipeline that's a good prospect and has a chance to be good, but it's not gonna be with the crazy upside of the guys in your top 10. It's probably gonna be more of a lottery ticket, high upside.
It's not. You might be disappointed this player gets traded, but you're not going to probably just absolutely lose your mind that that was the player to be named later. It's not going to be a Shane Baz, if you remember that trade that the Rays got from the Pirates. It's not going to be that level of prospect, I wouldn't
Right.
imagine.
No.
So, but we'll see. Only time will tell on that one. A question here from Sean: when do we think JP will be back in the lineup? So when Hollander talked about it on Friday, he said this weekend JP was exactly 2 weeks from the injury. They said it's 4 weeks, I believe, right, Lyle? It's 4 weeks in the cast.
Yeah.
Then the rehab starts to get him back to full speed, back to full strength, which would be another at least another couple weeks after that. So I would say right now, if we're taking our best guess at when JP is back, about a month from now. Best
Mhm.
case is about a month from now.
Yeah, I'd say early September or so. He should be back before the season ends. That doesn't seem like a question, but I think it's gonna be sometime in September, probably on the earlier side of September, but they are gonna have to wait it out a bit without JP Crawford.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we
Yeah,
have.
I agree with that.
Oh, here's a good one on YouTube. This is from Boomstick Gaming. He says, "What do you think the win total the Mariners need to have is to win the division?" In this AL West, 85? I don't know.
85?
Maybe a little bit more, but I mean,
89.
probably, but this is a weak AL West with
I,
neither the Mariners or the Astros winning a lot of games.
I have a suggestion. How about they just go win 95 so we don't have to worry about it?
Sure, that'd be great. They should go win 95. Sign me up for that. Are they gonna get to that? I have no idea.
No. I would say probably not. I say this team it ends up somewhere between 84 and 89 wins, and that will dictate whether or not they make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll finish with a little bit more than 84 wins, but yeah, feels like somewhere from like 87 to 90, something
Yeah.
like that. So, which is right around what we said preseason.
Um, let's see. There's a question Frodo asks on YouTube. Have there been any interviews with Randy by Mariners media on how he feels about his first homestand and the hometown crowd? Did he speak to the media after any of the games? I can't remember seeing anything. We
I
didn't
didn't
talk to him.
No, we didn't, and I didn't see any, like, media session with him. Now, maybe he did something on the road because that is where he played his first few games. There's obviously more media at home than traveling media on the road. But in terms of this series so far, no, I haven't seen anything with Randy yet. I'm sure Root's done some stuff with him, right? Or has he been on Root yet at all? No?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a ton yet with him. Obviously, like, we would love to get Randy on the mic. It's our goal to get him on the mic here at some point, but it hasn't happened yet.
He wasn't en route this weekend.
So maybe was he on there at all during the road trip?
Well, Root doesn't send anyone on the road, so I don't think so.
Hmm. Yeah, so he hasn't done a lot yet then, I guess. At some point here, I'm sure, but not a ton yet.
Yeah, and so in the case of Randy, he does need an interpreter when he does interviews, so that um, even though people do want to hear from him, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for Root and the Mariners to set that up for him.
Right.
It'll happen eventually, but I don't think it's happened yet. Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But yeah, I'm sure soon enough here. I've no
And
doubt.
and Frodo adds in, I just hope he likes it here. I'm sure he does. He looked like he was having a blast this weekend.
Yeah. He's
He's looking
seen
good, like doing this. Yep.
Yeah, I
He got
think
to do this a few times.
Yeah. No, I think he's enjoying it. Like, I wouldn't worry about that at all, but, yeah, you just might not have gotten to hear from him yet because it doesn't look like anything's been set up yet with him, at least not while they've been at home.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else do we have? Someone says Dylan Moore can't play shortstop. I think Dylan Moore can play shortstop. Now, you might not like him for 162 games at shortstop, but this is the Mariners' best solution while JP's out. And he's been totally fine. I know, I know today he dropped that ball on the double play, but you know, that aside, I think he's been perfectly serviceable while JP's been out.
Yeah, serviceable is a term I would use.
Yeah.
That's it. I think we both said at the deadline, if there's a shortstop available, that would not be the worst course of action because of JP's injury. They ultimately decided not to do that. But in the interim, like Dylan Moore can be a league average shortstop until the first week of September. Now, I hope he just keeps that and doesn't go on a cold streak. We'll see. But for now, it's fine. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
John asks on YouTube, can Victor Robles be the real deal? Is what we are seeing real?
We might spend some time on this on the podcast on Wednesday. It's a good question. I certainly hope it is, but I mean, what he's done over the last month or so doesn't actually feel that fluky. Like, for example, if you're to look at his Savant page, while he's not qualifying for any league leads yet, but he's barreling the ball up. He doesn't strike out a ton. He's hitting for real power and authority. There are things to suggest this can keep up. It's not a total fluke. I know his BABIP's a little bit up there, but we need to see what he does in the next 2 months, but it doesn't feel like this is just gonna totally fall off. It actually does feel like he's tapped into something.
I know he's running a high BABIP. That helps inflate his numbers a little bit. But Robles what's his WRC plus right now? It's like 140.
Well, entering Saturday, it was 142, so right around there.
I'm going to say most likely Victor Robles is not going to transform from a below league average hitter to a 140 WRC plus hitter overnight when this season he got released from a team because he wasn't hitting. I don't think it clicks quite like that. But could he, when his BABIP comes back down, because of some of the changes he made with the Mariners, hitting the ball a little bit harder and firmer and spraying it around, actually pushes him from being a below average hitter to an above league average hitter? That's very believable. But I'd like to see 2 months of it to say that for certain. But as Lyle said, that is going to be a main topic on Wednesday's episode. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that and give you guys a more concrete answer than we can sum up here briefly on the live stream.
Right. In summary, there is a chance he can keep something like this up. It might not be a 140, aka 40% above league average as a hitter, but can he be a 115, 120 guy moving forward in terms of his WRC plus? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, this was a guy that was supposed to be in the same ranks of Fernando Tatis, Vladdy Jr., Kyle Tucker. He was what, 5 spots ahead of Kyle Tucker in terms of the
He was
pipeline
ranked ahead
prospects?
of Juan Soto.
Oh, he was way ahead of Juan Soto. I mean, Robles was the guy Nationals fans were waiting on their heels for forever. People were excited about Soto, but Robles was the guy. Soto, it wasn't until Soto came up and went on that tear right as he started his career and then never looked back that he overtook Victor Robles.
Yeah. Yep. Here's a fun question. This is from Gmo on Instagram. In honor of Seafair Weekend, cool, by the way, I've not seen a Seafair Weekend in a while. It has been a long time. I think it's been about 7 years since I've seen a Seafair Weekend. It was pretty cool. Which Mariners most likely to be a Blue Angel pilot?
Does anybody on this team have their pilot's license? I don't think so.
If I was thinking of any Seattle athlete in the last decade, it would be Jimmy Graham.
That's where my mind went to.
Yeah.
Mariner.
So Gmo said Mitch Haniger.
Yeah, I mean, he feels like a good candidate, right? Probably calm, mature, wouldn't get totally overpressured while doing something like that. Like a veteran. Maybe
I think you
somebody
could
like
do either
Haniger.
Mitch.
Could go with them. Trying to think who else.
Are we letting Sauce in the pilot
No.
seat? Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think him or Bryce Miller would exactly thrive in this role.
Hmm.
Who else? Cal,
Actually,
maybe?
like Kirby's pretty dead serious. I think he would be a good pilot.
Okay. I was gonna say Cal, maybe.
Yeah, I think Cal would be too.
Okay,
That would work out.
sure. Yeah, guys like that. That's my answer. I'll say Cal.
All right, that's good. I will pick. I'll pick Kirby. I think he'd do a good job. Battery right there.
All right.
Well, thank you for the super chat, Mr. Guarded. Here's a question, Lyle, on YouTube. This team could really take the league by storm. Trade Castillo in the offseason for big time hitters. You got free agents like Soto, Scott, and Scott. Oh, Tanner Scott, I guess. And Christian Walker. I hope they really take advantage.
Yeah, I don't know who
Um,
Scott is either.
yeah, Mr. Guarded, please give us a follow up message. Which Scott is that?
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
regardless, this is, I'll say thank you. First of all, thank you a lot for the super chat. Um, like these are possibilities we've discussed about that. We talked about this exact scenario on Brock and Salk on what sort of options they have in the offseason. Juan Soto's name came up, Luis Castillo's name in a trade came up. If that would be something he would be open to because there's a no trade clause. It opens up a lot of avenues. I saw a message earlier on in the YouTube chat that suggested you trade Castillo as sort of you free up some cash and you get someone like Ryan Mountcastle as a purely salary relief and then adding a bat. Now you could eat some of the salary and add better players while trading Castillo. There's a lot of ways you can sort of work around this. And that's why something like this would need to happen in the offseason. So you have time to work out all the possible scenarios. But the team that continues to make the most sense with something like that is the Baltimore Orioles.
Mm-hmm. They need pitching. Mariners need bats. And if I'm going to trade Castillo, no, I'm not trading him as a salary dump. If it was a salary dump, I'd be pissed. And I think a lot of people will be pissed. It needs to be with the idea that you're getting controllable bats back who have a chance to really impact your lineup long term. The trade I've thrown out there is getting both Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo back, who right now are sort of both minor leaguers. I know Mayo's in the big leagues right now and he's making his debut this weekend, but he's up there because Jordan Westburg got hurt. Jordan Westburg's an all-star. So those are two guys that are essentially blocked. Now, if that's the case, feels like a couple of guys that could go elsewhere, that could get to a place where they have a place to play. For the Orioles, you get back a guy that can be a top of the rotation starter with a team that may lose Corbin Burns this offseason. And if that's the case, you don't really have an ace moving forward. G-Rod's good. I don't know if Grayson Rodriguez is quite an ace yet. Or, I mean, maybe he's another top of the rotation type pitcher, but you need somebody up there with him. That's not Zach Eflin. I wouldn't say that's like Dean Kramer either. Having Kyle Bradish back next year will help. You need more than that if you're the Orioles. So honestly, if the Mariners agree to eat some of the money and you're the Orioles, I'd be shocked if they weren't interested in this because you'd be essentially trading two guys who are blocked in your organization for Luis Castillo. And for the Mariners, that gives you a corner infield bat you desperately need. Could possibly play third base. Mayo does play third. And then you get a left-handed hitting outfielder. And then with all that, you can still go sign a free agent or two or three or however many you can afford to go sign this offseason. Because, yeah, it is a good free agent class. There are guys like Christian Walker and Pete Alonso. And if you want to really shoot for the stars, Juan Soto, like we've talked about in this class. So there's a lot you can do offensively this winter.
And I see the chat responding to this. We are well aware Castillo has a full no trade clause. This trade is indicative of the Mariners would have to sell this to Luis Castillo as well. And he'd have to want to do it. And if he doesn't want to do it, none of this matters
Yeah,
because you can't trade him.
right.
So we
And
know.
and we're not even sure it's a great idea. It's just something we have talked about. Like trading from your best asset of your team is not like doesn't it should make you feel a little uneasy for good reason. But if you're thinking about it, it's with the idea that Logan Evans should be a big league ready guy next year. Jurangelo St. Just probably a 2026 guy. You could sign somebody for a year in free agency to fill that 5 spot if you have to. And then you have some real bats as well. I don't like again, I'm not totally sold on the idea. I'm just a little bit open-minded.
And in the Mariners sense, payroll wise, not knowing exactly what the budget is next year, knowing you could offload some of a $24 million contract like they did with Robbie Ray last offseason to give them more spending flexibility. If the Mariners go into this offseason with the same spending flexibility they had last offseason, then there is going to need to be money traded off the books. So you got to find the options you can. But Luis Castillo and his agent negotiated the fact that he has all the power in said negotiations until January 1st, 2026. So we'll have to see. But it is an option if he is open to it.
Right. What else do we have? We can try to get to a couple more here. Let's see. Yeah, somebody asked about Julio again. Again, we don't totally know yet. It's up in the air. It could be as soon as the next couple days. It could be as long as another week and a half. We're still waiting. That was basically the update this weekend. What else do we have? Well, Jimmy Sheehan asks on Instagram, who are the big names of the free agent class this year? I mean, Juan Soto is obviously the headliner. And truthfully, I don't know if there's going to be a better bat in the next 5 free agent classes than Juan Soto. So as we sit on Brock and Talk, if we're the Mariners, we're outbidding every team by $100 million for Juan Soto because he's worth all of it. So that's Juan Soto. There's a couple first basemen that'll be available. Guys we talked about in potential trades earlier in the season. Pete Alonso, Christian Walker. Those guys would make a lot of sense, especially because Justin Turner's a free agent at the end of next year. You're going to need a first baseman. Who else is in this class? Corbin Burns.
Lau is not going to be Santander.
Santander, yeah. So those are the bats. But even again, the Mariners aren't going to sign arms. But Corbin Burns obviously is a big name in this class, so he's one. Those are some of the names. Yes, Soto, Walker, Alonso, Santander. There is one big name that is gonna overshadow this whole free agent class. Even though there's a bunch of really good free agents. There's at least, but Soto's the guy.
Does Matt Chapman have an opt-out, or did he sign a 2-year deal?
No, he does. He has a chance to be a free agent too.
Yeah, that would be one.
Sure.
You wouldn't get the price he was at last year, but you can make up for something you decided not to do.
Yeah, if he wants more years and a little bit less money, exactly, he could get some more security.
Yep. That would be good for the Mariners because they could certainly use some offensive production at third base. Again, keep seeing Corbin Burns. Like it just doesn't feel like. Thank you, Mr. Guarded, for that. But I don't think. It just doesn't feel like with the Mariners' current stash of pitchers that are going to go pay at least $35 million a year it's going to cost for Corbin Burns. Like Luis Castillo's contract is a bargain compared to what Corbin Burns is going to get. Now, Corbin Burns is better than Luis Castillo, but that's a lot of money for a team that has not shown the willingness to really extend the payroll. So do you ask yourself this, is that the best use for $35 million if you have that to spend? Would you not rather spend that on your first base position if that's what it costs, or signing Matt Chapman to play third base? I think that would be more valuable.
Yeah. Well, we can get to, unless any others really flow in here in the next couple minutes, we can get to one more. Or well, Gmo just quickly as a comment, I think Walker would be a great Mariner. Same with Santander. We're with you on that. We said the same thing. First baseman, left-handed hitting outfielder. Those guys would be awesome. The other one I've got is from Bryson on YouTube, and he says, do you think Logan Evans and Troy Taylor need a cup of coffee this September? So, well, obviously we are Logan Evans fans. I don't know how he's pitching this year in the big leagues unless there is an injury to the rotation. I'd love to see him pitch in the big leagues, but since they've shut down the idea of him being a bullpen arm, I'm guessing it would have to be some unfortunate circumstances. Now, Troy Taylor, maybe. I actually asked, so I want to give credit to a friend of ours, friend of the pod, Jason Churchill, about this, because I was genuinely curious about a week and a half ago. I think Troy Taylor had thrown another 3 strikeout scoreless inning down in Arkansas, and I texted him saying, is there a reason he's not up in the big leagues right now? Because the ERA is crazy low, and he's looked great in Double-A. And Churchill was saying, honestly, I just don't think he's one of the 9 or 10 best relief arms in the organization right now, as well as he's pitched. So he says, I think the Mariners still value guys like Colin Snyder, or even maybe somebody like Edward Bizzardo over him for now. And he was saying, I think if Taylor came up, he could flash. He has a chance, but I also think there's a chance he comes up and just kind of is more a little bit like Bizzardo. So if that's the case, then the Mariners probably want to make sure he's developed. And if you look at his strikeout numbers, they're actually not that high in Double A, which is usually a sign or not a sign that a big leaguer or that a reliever might get some time in the big leagues. But because Taylor isn't striking out the world in Double A, it's probably why you're not seeing him up yet. Now something could change, but I would guess Taylor has a better chance than Evans. And with that, he probably still needs to strike some more guys out first.
And the other what was I going to say? So we know the Mariners need some right now. They could use a boost in the middle innings because right now the production they're getting in the middle innings of their bullpen is not great. So I feel like if Troy Taylor was truly ready, he would get an opportunity in that position because that, especially that seventh inning, whether it be, Saucedo struggled this weekend, Thornton struggled in the second half, Gabe Spire got sent down after he struggled a couple of times after he had gotten healthy, coming up at the big league level. If like Bizzardo struggled in that spot as well. Jonathan, I think they would throw Jonathan Diaz in that spot too, but again, I don't think anyone here thinks Jonathan Diaz is a long-term part of the big league bullpen. So like they've tried so many guys in that middle spot that they would be open to options. But if they truly believed in Troy Taylor, said slam dunk, this guy is ready, then I would have the assumption he'd be up by now. But unfortunately, that upside isn't there. I can get this super chat. Wow,
Yeah,
this is an inside joke for me.
okay, I was gonna say before we get to that,
Yeah.
I was just there's like a couple quick ones on Instagram first, and then maybe we can end with that. I was gonna say somebody asked, TJ asked, funny enough, another TJ on Instagram says, should we bring up Hancock to help in the bullpen like Brash did? I don't know if it's exactly I don't know if it's exactly the same situation because Brash has like filthier plain stuff than Emerson Hancock does. Like Emerson Hancock still feels like he is more built to be a starter. I don't know if that transition would be perfect. I don't know. Maybe it's something the Mariners would think about long term, but I think Emerson is more built to be a starter, and I think they want the starter's depth. So I'm guessing they're going to keep him in that role. And then Parker asks, are there any prospects that could add value down the stretch? Honestly, it's probably somebody like Troy Taylor, if anybody. Like I don't think we're going to see Harry Ford or Cole Young this year. They don't seem like they're quite ready.
And I feel like based on what the Mariners have needed, if there was one, we would probably have seen him by now. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And the other guy would have been Logan Evans, but the bullpen experiment the Mariners thought did not work out the way they wanted to, and now he's back in the rotation. So
Right. Or if they need Tyler Locklear again at some point, maybe he gets another call, but like that would be the other. However, I think it's doing him some good getting some at bats down in AAA. He took Johnny Cueto deep twice the other night, by the way, which that's really cool. And that's good for Tyler Locklear because he's getting the at bats he probably needs in AAA. And it's probably helping his development.
Yeah. I'll get to the super chat. Colby Jack, aka Derek, one of my coworkers, asking if one of my other coworkers, hearing the M's, will hire him as a new advanced scout. Well, I would say good taste in personality, though I just don't know how sharp he is in the current game. But thanks for the question, Derek. That's awesome, and appreciate the support of the channel.
I'll say, yeah. I don't know anything about this, so I'll just take your word for it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's my answer. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we got. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in every single Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific here on YouTube and on Instagram to answer your guys' questions. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media accounts at Marine Layer Pod. Follow us, subscribe, turn on the notification bells if you aren't already, and we'll see you guys next Sunday.